Hey, what's up, everybody? Hammerheart Metal Reviews here once again. Today we are going to be talking about traditional heavy metal, specifically new wave of traditional heavy metal, modern bands that are recapturing the spirit of the 80s. I feel like this subgenre doesn't get enough love here on YouTube, so I'm here to talk about 10 bands that I think you absolutely should be checking out if you're into classic heavy metal at all. I seem to see a lot on YouTube of people that seem to claim that they enjoy traditional heavy metal, but they're always just talking about the bands from the heyday, from the 80s, like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. But there's a huge wave and movement happening for the last 15 years where bands are, paying homage to those days, but also doing their own thing and putting a modern spin on it. And there's so many great albums being released that I wanted to just take some time and do a fun video today to talk about 10 of my favorite bands in this new movement or in this subgenre. So as I was trying to put this together, I was having a really hard time picking which 10 bands I was going to talk about because I love so many, and even within the scope of new wave of traditional heavy metal, I will say that there's so many different styles that you can still play within that general genre tag. There's going to be bands that are more influenced by the British bands like Maiden and Priest. There's going to be other ones that are more into the speed metal side of things or the thrash metal side of things. Maybe some epic heavy metal bands. Maybe some that are inspired more by things like Merciful Fate and King Diamond. There's so many different styles within traditional heavy metal. So I tried to kind of pick some different stylistic bands for my choices of 10 here. I may even end up doing another edition in this series because there are so many CDs that I left on my shelf here that I want to talk about those bands too, but I tried to stick with active bands for today and just, 10 of my favorites in no specific order. I'm not ranking these. I'm just going to kind of be going with bands that have been around the longest to the most recent for my 10 choices here. I will also say a great source for new wave of traditional heavy metal music in general is the channel New Wave of Traditional Heavy Metal full albums. I cannot count how many albums and bands I have discovered from that channel alone. So I will link that channel down below because if you're into any of these bands I talk about today, go explore this YouTube channel that talks about so many. It's always posting new albums pretty much every day. Just a really great source. One of the best channels out there. So definitely go check that out if you're into any of these bands and want to go doing your own research and discovering more music. A great place to start. But anyways, I'm getting off track. Let's get into this. So for starters, I'm going to go with the band that arguably really kicked off this new movement back in around, mid 2000s, like 2005 or so. I don't know if it'll even say on here if I can read it, but whatever. I'm talking about Enforcer. So they really came out of the gates firing here on their debut, Into the Night. This was very much focused on the speed metal aspect of things, very much a throwback style record. These guys are from Sweden. That debut album, like I said, pure speed metal. They really evolved their sound a little bit more by their sophomore album here, Diamonds, which is probably my favorite by the band. It's a great combination of, like I said, speed metal and just a throwback to the 80s. They even sprinkle in maybe some elements of glam metal in there as well. It's simplistic songwriting, but it's so damn catchy, and these songs are just going to stick in your head. They know how to write a hook. They know how to write a chorus that's just going to ingrain itself into your mind. They know how to get heavy when they need to, and they know how to slow things down and do some softer moments as well. That was their sophomore album. Here, their third album is almost just as good as that, Death by Fire, another outstanding release, pretty much in the same style as Diamonds, just another kick-ass album. Follow up to that, From Beyond, another one really worth checking out, one of their best for sure. I've seen this band live a handful of times as well. They never disappoint, really killing it. After that, their fifth album, probably my least favorite by them, Zenith. Still worth checking out, but definitely went in more of an arena rock feel on this. That's what they were going for. Just maybe more commercial sound, going for a bigger stadium rock vibe. Not my favorite album by them. Definitely, I would say if you're going to check out an Enforcer album, leave that one for last. Kind of get used to their sound first. But then their newest album, Nostalgia, from a couple years ago, that one was a nice return to form. Still kind of a mix of the style that was on Zenith, as well as their older style, kind of a mishmash of different songwriting styles, which I like, having a nice eclectic album to showcase their different songwriting chops. All in all, yeah, all 6 of these albums are worth checking out. A great band. That's the first one to kick this off. But now let's switch up to a completely different style here. I'm going to go with a band that's definitely more leaning into the epic style of heavy metal, maybe some influence from power metal here as well. Going to the States this time with Visigoth. Here's their debut full-length, The Revenant King. I absolutely love this album to death. The vocalist here, Jake Rogers, is well known for being behind some great black metal bands, Caladan Brood and Gallow Braid. But yeah, here he's just got a nice, rich baritone voice. And like I said, this is very much the epic style of traditional heavy metal. Think bands like Manila Road. They even do a Manila Road cover on this song. So yeah, still paying homage to those great bands of the 80s, but putting their own modern spin on it. That was their debut record. Their follow-up, Conqueror's Oath, is just as goddamn good. Like, they've only had the 2 albums. I can't wait for another. I really hope that they put out another one. But this album's a lot shorter than their debut. The debu's like 70 minutes. This one's way shorter and to the point, which maybe you'll like that more. I think I lean towards the debut a little bit more than this one. But all in all, epic soaring vocals, great riffs, just really great songs, nice solos in here too. A goddamn great band that you should definitely be checking out if you're into traditional heavy metal at all. All right, now we're going to switch it up to a completely different style of traditional heavy metal, and this time being a band that's very much influenced by Merciful Fate and King Diamond, and even throwing in some black metal influence. I'm talking about Attic. So this band is from Germany. Here I've got their sophomore album. I actually don't have their debut yet. I will get it at some point. But I mean, even the vocalist, like, pretty much wears corpse paint, very much in the style of King Diamond. So yeah, you might think, oh, is it just a ripoff of that? He does the high falsettos as well. It's not just a ripoff. He's like paying tribute to clearly his favorite singer, but they do their own thing here. Like, there's a lot of black metal elements in here with some of the blast beats and even just tremolo guitar riffs. And yes, he nails the King Diamond style falsetto, but it does its own thing. It's unique enough. It's not just a tribute act. This was their sophomore album, like I said, but I also have their 3rd album here, Return of the Witchfinder, which is probably, to me, their best album, really coming into their own and kind of separating themselves as just a King Diamond clone. At this point, they're really developing their own style. Just really great stuff here. If you're a fan of King Diamond or Merciful Fate, you will surely get some enjoyment out of this, but even if you're not, just go check out Attic. Really killer stuff. All right. Now let's switch it up once again. This time we're going to go with a band that's more pure speed metal is kind of how they started. Very much inspired by bands like Razor and Exciter. Going with Evil Invaders. So this band is from Belgium. Here's their debut, Pulses of Pleasure. On this debut, it's pretty much pure in-your-face speed. Maybe wouldn't even call this traditional heavy metal. This is just a speed metal record, but it's goddamn great. Their vocalist hits such high notes, but still carries a melody as well. And the guitar playing here is so fast, but so melodious as well. And it's just great. This is possibly even my favorite album by them. But they followed that up with their sophomore album, Feed Me Violence, and really built on the foundations of that debut record and developed their sound a little bit more, throwing in some slower paced songs as well. So it's not just speed all the way through, bringing in some different 80s influences and really coming into their own. And then by the time they released their 3rd album, Shattering Reflection, they have really developed into a kind of a different band than from their debut. Yes, the speed metal is still there, but then you've got a song like In Deepest Black, which sounds like it could be a ballad from like a Skid Row album, or a song like Die For Me that sounds like it's straight off a Wasp album from the 80s. Like, they really know how to do some different song styles. It took them a few albums to maybe hone their sound to something that's completely their own and unique, but I absolutely love this band. I love the speed metal era, and I love what they're doing these days as well. Another great band that you should definitely be listening to. All right, we're going to switch up the style a little bit once again, this time going to the UK with Seven Sisters. So here I've got Shadow of a Fallen Star Part 1. This is their third album. I actually don't have the first two. I've got to get those at some point, but I've got their third album. I may as well just show the fourth one right now here too, since they kind of go together. Shadow of a Fallen Star Part 2, which is actually from this year. But so this band is definitely more influenced by like the twin lead heavy metal, classic heavy metal, think like Thin Lizzy, Iron Maiden, but then putting their own like spacey progressive touches on it as well. Like the guitar work here will just knock your socks off. Crazy twin harmonies and leads, just the whole albums. And the vocalist really just knows how to write a nice chorus, and it's so catchy, and his tone of voice just suits this style of heavy metal so goddamn well. I love this band to death. Both great records that you should be listening to if anything I just said sounds like it might interest you. All right, we're going to keep this moving along. This time coming to my home country of Canada with Riot City. So this is their debut album here, Burn the Night. So on this album, as you can tell from the album cover, very much Judas Priest worship here. You've got elements of the old school, like 80s era Judas Priest, as well as think like Walls of Jericho era Halloween. You've got those vibes here with just high piercing vocals, ripping riffs, just exactly what you think you're in store for based on that album art is what you're in store for, but they nail this sound perfectly. And then on their sophomore album, Electric Elite, they kept that foundation. They brought in a new vocalist and they really developed their sound and took it to the next level while it still has that early speed metal sound and Judas Priest worship. They've also added in some like progressive elements. Think of bands like Queensryche or Crimson Glory. There's a lot of similarities here. So yes, it's a little bit of a different style than maybe some of the other bands that I've talked about here already, but honestly, one of the best newer bands out there in this style. Not just because they're from my home country. I gotta represent Canada a little bit here, but yeah, Riot City kicks a lot of ass. Definitely go listen to them if you haven't. All right, gonna switch this up. How many more do I got here? I think 4 more. I think that was 6. So yeah, up next, a newer band for sure, Morgul Blade, with their album Heavy Metal Race. So this band is from Philadelphia in the States. This is their sophomore record. I don't yet have their debut. I will be grabbing that at some point. Fell Sorcery Abounds. Goddamn great record as well. I just haven't bought the CD yet, but I need to get on that. But nonetheless, their style here, it's classic heavy metal, but with raspy black metal vocals. So that might not be for everyone, but I love the combination that they do here. It's great guitar work. They've got really catchy songs, even though the vocalist isn't going to be doing the typical high-soaring vocals that you might anticipate with the music that's underneath, but rather going with the raspy black metal vocals, and it just suits this band so well. You got songs like the title track here, Heavy Metal Fucking Race. So goddamn good. Honestly, go check out this band. For the album art alone, it's worth it. But yeah, a great newer band that you should be checking out. All right, speaking of newer bands that you should definitely be checking out, going back to Sweden this time, but this time with a band that really is paying tribute and homage and pulling their influence from the 80s Swedish heavy metal scene. Specifically, this band sounds a lot like bands like Heavy Load or Gotham City, and I'm talking about Century, here with their debut album, The Conquest of Time, on No Remorse Records. When this album came out, it absolutely floored me. The riffs on this album are just so goddamn good. The vocals are so smooth. You just take this in, and it's so easy listening, if that makes sense, while still having just crazy good guitar licks. This album was one of my favorites from the year it came out, and I still go back to it all the time. Just classic Swedish style heavy metal. Reminds me a lot of Heavy Load, like I said. They also had their sophomore album come out earlier this year, Sign of the Storm. Picks up right where the debut left off. Really hard to say which one I like better. I'd probably go with the debut just because of how impactful it was when I first heard it. This one's kind of more of the same, but still it's so well done that it is still just an awesome record by an awesome band. All right, I got 2 fairly new bands that have only been around for a few years now. I got to talk at least about some Greek heavy metal. I'm going to go with one of my favorite new, like, modern Greek bands, and that is Triumpher, here with their debut album, Storming the Walls. So this is a band that takes huge influence from Manowar. The vocalist even sounds a lot like Eric Adams from Manowar. He hits such great high notes, but they also bring in like a black metal influence as well, which the Greek scene is really known for. And so you're gonna hear riffs that like wouldn't be out of place on a black metal record, but yet then you come in with the Eric Adam-esque vocals and they just make it their own sound, and it's just perfection. I love this band to death. I love the approach that they're taking. It's like Epic Bathory meets Manowar meets Immortal, and it just works. So that's their debut album, which was absolutely killer, and I think they got even better on their sophomore release, Spirit Invictus. Another just crazy good album in a pretty similar style to the debut, but honestly I think the songwriting was taken up a notch, and this album just absolutely rips. Go listen to the title track or Arrival of the Avenger, and if you're not into those, then I don't know what's wrong with you, because they're great goddamn songs. But anyways, yeah, Triumpher, easily one of my favorite modern traditional heavy metal bands. And that just leaves one last but certainly not least, a very new band that's only been around for a couple years from the USA, Helms Deep. Here their debut album. Why can't I remember what that's called? The Treacherous Ways. Yeah, I just drew a blank there for a second, even though I'm holding it right in front of me. But yeah, when this album came out, I was absolutely floored by how good it is. The riffs are crazy good. The vocalist here hits such different pitches. He'll do a regular singing voice and he hits such crazy high notes. And these songs are so goddamn catchy. You're going to be playing air guitar and singing along to every single one. This takes so many influences from different styles of 80s heavy metal. Like, it's like a tribute to the 80s, but not just to one specific style. That's what I love about this. The songwriting is so varied, yet it's still all cohesive at the same time. You will be screaming these songs. That was the debut, and he's also got a new one from this year, Chasing the Dragon, which picks up where the first one left off. It's a little bit different. It's a longer album than the first record. I think so far I'm liking the first record more. Kind of similar to what I said about Century. It's not like this one isn't good. It's just the first one made such a big impact on me that maybe I had expectations going into this, but that's not to take anything away from this. This is a great goddamn album. More great vocals, more catchy songs that are just going to stick in your head. Absolutely amazing stuff. So anyways, yeah, I know I was rambling on quite a while here. I just thought this would be fun to kind of focus on this specific subgenre, and even within the subgenre having so many different styles. But hopefully you took away at least one band from this that maybe you hadn't heard before, and you can go check out these albums and let me know what you think of them down below. I might do another edition in this series for the same subgenre, or I might kind of switch this up and do some other ones. Who knows? My content for the rest of this year is kind of up in the air. I'm just winging it for the next couple months, so we'll see what happens. But hopefully you enjoyed it, and until next time, Hammerheart Metal Reviews. Out.